So first of all, I want to thank the airport and the airport police for everything you guys do. Just want to thank you for your service to the state of Alaska and keeping the airport safe and our passengers safe, so appreciate it. And so we're here today to talk about a cargo expansion here at the airport. We're blessed in Alaska because of our location. We oftentimes talk about our location on the globe as well as our resources, and both of which we're putting into action, putting into play. And I want to thank those all involved with this addition in terms of cargo. As we know, Alaska vies between third and fourth largest, the most busiest airport in the world in terms of cargo, second in the United States. And with the addition, it's more revenue for the airport, but it's also more jobs for Alaskans, more activity in Alaska. And it's our hope that this continues to grow constantly. We're one of the few airports, I think, in the world that has tremendous possibilities of expansion, whether it's here at the airport, potentially even across where Point Mac is too. So that's one of the beauties about Alaska is we're a new state. We don't have a lot of infrastructure, but what we do have is really helping pave the way for the future. And so this is part of the whole concept of creating an Alaska for the next 50 years for our kids and our grandkids. And again, I want to thank everyone involved in this. Just a few prepared words. So in 1935, General Billy Mitchell said, quote, "Whoever holds Alaska will hold the world. It is the most important strategic place in the world," end quote. And he is correct. We are not only strategic in terms of cargo and our proximity to Asia, we are an Arctic state, we are a North Pacific state, we are a Western Pacific state. I often tell people we're the northernmost, westernmost, and easternmost state in the country, which is true. But that location, once again, is coming into play today, and that's why we're here. The Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport has been a bright spot in the Alaska economy for years. For some of you that have been here since the 70s, 80s, 90s, you'll recall that it was a heavy passenger terminal at one time, the international terminal. If you went over there, it was very busy. Then things changed, geopolitics changed, aircraft changed, and it kind of flipped. It's now become a cargo hub for the world here in Anchorage. Memphis, the home of FedEx, is the only airport in the United States with more cargo traffic than here at Ted Stevens. Now with the addition of 5 new cargo carriers, we'll be even more competitive. These new carriers will increase our connectivity with South Korea, Mexico, South Africa, and other locations important in global commerce. Our strategic location on the globe alone doesn't guarantee success. It takes leadership to make sure we live up to our potential. And again, I want to thank all of those who have been so instrumental in this successful operations here at Ted Stevens International Airport. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to people to really hone down on a couple things here, and I'm going to turn it over to Tyler Creswell with Atlas, and he's going to say a few words.
Good afternoon. My name is Tyler Creswell. I'm the chief pilot for Atlas Air Cargo here in Anchorage. Anchorage is the largest cargo carrier. We were asked to speak today a little bit about the air cargo market and the importance of Anchorage in that market. Over the past few years, we've experienced a tremendous amount of change in the air cargo market, whether that's the pandemic, whether that's the reduction in capacity due to maritime shipping disruptions, or the growth of e-commerce, the organic growth of e-commerce and change in customer demands. The one thing that all those changes have underpinned for our company have been the strategic importance of Anchorage as a focal to our business. From an industry perspective, we've seen growth in our business in Anchorage that outpaces any other theater. We've seen growth in all theaters from the e-commerce market, but Anchorage has grown more than any other. To put a perspective on it, every aircraft that Atlas adds 3 turns a week to Anchorage. With our growth, that equates to about 2,000 additional flights in Anchorage next year just for Atlas, and I know some of the other carriers are feeling that same thing. That might sound like modest growth, 3 flights a week per aircraft, but when you look at the exponential potential that has for the Alaska economy in consumable services, in fuel, in lodging, and in employment, that is really a tremendous amount of growth, and we're excited to continue it. That kind of growth is really not possible without the partnership of the airport, with DOT, with the governor, Commissioner Anderson, and his team. And we as a company, we could not support it without their partnership, and so we want to say thank you. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Terry.
Thank you, Tyler, for that introduction. My name is Terry Linseth, and I'm the Deputy Airport Director here at Anchorage International, overseeing planning and development. And good afternoon. Anchorage International Airport is very excited to share some significant developments in our cargo operations that are set to enhance our local economy and strengthen our global trade links. First, I want to highlight that the combined estimated monthly revenue generated from our new airline partnerships is approximately $745,000. This translates to an impressive expected annual increase of just under $9 million collected from fees combined, such as landing fees, parking, and fuel flowage fees. And overall, this represents approximately a 7% increase in Anchorage International's overall annual revenues. I'd like to give some detail on the routes provided by these 5 individual airlines that continue to strengthen these vital trade routes between Asia and North America. The first airline is called Awesome Cargo Airlines. It's based in Mexico, and the flight route is from Incheon, Japan, through Anchorage and onto Mexico City. The second airline is Central Airlines of China, based out of Henan, China, and it flies from Shenzhen through Anchorage onto Ontario, California. The third is ASL Air Cargo. They're a Belgium carrier, and they fly several times a month between Henan, China, through Anchorage and onto JFK International. The fourth airline is Aerologic Air Cargo. It's Germany-based, and they further enhance our connectivity by linking Guangzhou and Hong Kong with Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport via Anchorage as well. And the fifth airline is CMA CGM Air Cargo, based in France. They're operated by Atlas, and they're connecting Hong Kong with Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago O'Hare through Anchorage. These partnerships not only bolster our financial outlook, but also reinforce our position as a key player in global logistics. We have been working collaboratively with cargo carriers and developers to support private infrastructure development. So some of the partnerships that I'd like to highlight briefly are, first off, Signature Aviation's new corporate aircraft executive terminal in South Air Park. The second development that we have ongoing for private industry is Northlink Aviation, also located in South Air Park. They'll be continuing construction this upcoming summer, developing several hard stands for wide-body parking, a modern warehousing facility, as well as infrastructure to recover and recycle glycol, which is used for de-icing aircraft here at ANC. The third is FedEx. They continue to expand their current hub here at ANC. You probably have seen their construction ongoing this past summer as well. They're building out a new domestic operations center and increasing their apron area as well. And fourth, right next to FedEx is an entity called Alaska Cargo and Cold Storage that anticipates beginning construction next summer as well. They have several hard stands for aircraft wide-body parking slated as well, including a cold storage cargo warehousing facility. And so with that, thank you very much for allowing me to provide that update, and I will be handing it over to Commissioner Anderson to talk about operations and infrastructure. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. We get really excited to talk about the growth at this airport, knowing what it means for really all of Alaska. On the operations side, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but our operations, our maintenance teams here, they're nationally award-winning teams for the phenomenal work they do out there to keep the snow clear, to keep our runways maintained, and to really do that top job of just, making sure we keep the airport running. But there's a lot of other things we're doing right now on the operations side, such as we're really taking a hard look at our parking capacity for the cargo aircraft. Just as we know, as the activities increase, Anchorage is a prime area where we have to have the parking available to accommodate these additional activities. So we're actively working through that. Also, with being a northern latitude airport and we have winter here, continually to look at our winter operations and to understand what other states are doing, what other northern latitude airports are doing. And we want to be the best. We want to make sure that we're caring for those things. And so we're actively engaging with others to make sure that we are the best when it comes to winter operations. And we're also looking at some things for environmental sustainability on the operations side, such as recycling our glycol, our de-icing fluids, and making the most of that as well. So really proud of the team that's out there working hard on these things. That's kind of, we don't notice that when we're flying into an airport and everything runs smooth. There's a lot of work that goes behind that. Another big focus, though, for us is infrastructure and making sure we're prepared and we're positioning ourselves for this growth that's happening right now. And so to do that, we really have three different aspects that we're looking at. The first is just that maintaining our infrastructure in that state of good repair. And this past year, and in 2024, we secured $62 million worth of airport improvement program and other infrastructure funds to do things like improving our runway lighting and our taxiways and just making sure those are solid. Our passenger gates and our boarding ramps and our boarding bridges, the utilities at the airport, making sure that we're modern and we're taking care of those things. These firefighting vehicles around us, we're securing funds to make sure we have the most modern and advanced firefighting equipment possible. And particularly right now with the change in the use of the PFAS chemicals, there are fluorine-free foams now that we're transitioning to improve that environmental sustainability and to make sure we won't have to use those PFAS chemicals at the airport anymore. So really working hard to enhance those things to make sure on the state of good repair side, we have a solid operation here and really strong infrastructure. But also we're really focused on expanding our capacity for cargo on the infrastructure side of things. And we've actually built at Anchorage International a multidisciplinary cargo infrastructure team. And so we're looking at all the different aspects together of what it takes to get these projects done as quick as we can to add the capacity that's needed. But also, and to Mr. Creswell, we've built these partnerships so that we can be working together on the private development at the airport and really doing everything we can to make sure that, together we can make the most of the airport lands and make them available with the challenges of some of these things like the PFAS or other areas and working together with everyone. So that's been a real good success for us and we're making really good progress and there's a lot of work to go. And then the other piece of this is really the state's investment in additional cargo space. And so we are working on projects to not only expand our parking and these hard stands where the aircraft have to park because of how heavy they are, but also looking at our taxiways and expanding our taxiways so that development of areas around Anchorage International, the land areas that haven't been developed can be. And so really working hard on that as well. But a final piece for us is energy. And this is in terms of not only the energy that the airport uses, but also energy and fuel that aircraft use. And I was going to invite Deputy Commissioner Keith up to talk a little bit about what we're focused on for energy at Anchorage International.
Thanks, Commissioner. Like you mentioned, my name is Catherine Keith, Deputy Commissioner, Department of Transportation and Public Facilities. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. The Alaska International Airport System itself does play a key role in reducing carbon emissions in the transportation sector. Right now, together with both airports, they consume approximately 30 million kilowatt hours of electricity, 120 million cubic feet of natural gas, and 33,000 gallons of heating fuel. Together, this equates to $7 million in our operating budget costs, about 6.6% of that. We have several projects underway to address this by reducing costs and environmental impact. I'd like to share 3 of them with all of you. First, with the support of a discretionary grant through the Federal Aviation Administration, we're launching a sustainable aviation fuel program. This will allow us to utilize Alaska's abundant biomass resources and create a alternative fuel, which currently is approved to be blended with conventional jet fuel up to 50%. These biomass resources include woody biomass like trees, wood residue, consider construction waste an example. We can use municipal solid waste as well as fish byproducts such as fish oil. When you consider since 2016 with the beetle kill, the spruce that destroyed over 1.8 million acres of our birch and spruce forest, that created additional risk for wildfires and disrupted local economies. So in these areas, in the Matanuska-Susitna Valley and the Kenai Peninsula Borough, those are both within accessible range of Ted Stevens International Airport. To leverage these otherwise going to waste biomass resources and to be able to create economic value is a real win in this case. We're looking right now at existing in-state refinery resources to see if there's a way to leverage what we have here and be able to both reduce cost and the challenge that's associated with a brand new refinery. To do so, we're also kicking off efforts for innovative funding and financing to see what would make sense here. For example, the low interest loans available through the Department of Energy. And we're also working with our air carriers like Atlas and Alaska Airlines, both of whom are members on our Sustainable Aviation Fuel Advisory Committee, to look at the marketability and also to understand requirements of what an in-state sustainable aviation fuel supply would look like. Secondly, we are installing a cogeneration power plant at Anchorage's North Terminal. This is with the support of a $3.3 million Federal Aviation Administration discretionary grant. What this facility features make sure I get this right here. It's a natural gas fueled microturbine. It's a combined heat and power system. And using this, it generates the electricity that it produces, has this excess waste heat. You can capture that waste heat and use that for thermal energy. That thermal energy will help us reduce our reliance on our existing boiler systems, and that ends up supporting our system. The efficiency of these cogeneration facilities is 90%, which is significantly beyond what you typically see with our existing power plants. Third, we're also installing photovoltaic arrays at both of our international airports in Anchorage and Fairbanks. We're looking to install two 10-megawatt arrays. This allows us to both reduce cost of power, reduce emissions, and also reduce that reliance on natural gas that we currently have for generation of electricity. From there, we want to find ways to optimize the installation of these systems. We released a request for information a couple weeks ago to ask existing contractors out there their ideas on how we could pull these systems together to the greatest benefit of the airports and those that use the facilities. All of these things together, they require a heavily interdisciplinary and collaborative approach. So our focus, might not seem standard for Department of Transportation, but with all of this, it requires a good collaborative approach. And this will allow us to make meaningful progress towards sustainable aviation system. This needs to serve Alaska, but then also be attractive so that other businesses are encouraged to invest and operate here in state. So. Thank you. I'll hand it back to Commissioner Anderson.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. We're excited about the future of Anchorage International. There's just some fantastic things going on. I know for a lot of people out there, what we think about a lot when you think about air transport is things like getting your Amazon packages and those types of things. And those are things that are getting worked on too in new ways and new ideas on how to move cargo throughout the world. And we want to be on the leading edge of that, and we feel really good about it. As the governor mentioned, we're number 2 after Memphis in terms of cargo tonnage coming through the airport, and we're number 4 right now in the world. I think that's after Shanghai, but we want to be number 3, and we think we can get there. So we're excited about the future of the airport, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shannon McCarthy for any questions.
Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. I was going to start with obviously the reporters. Let's do a one question round and then we can go back again if there's more questions. And I wanted to start with Alex because he was absolutely the first person that responded to me. And I don't know where you are, Alex. Okay, sorry. We've actually never met in person. We've only spoken on the phone.
Good to meet you. Thanks. Yeah, so I'm hoping that Terry can put some stuff into perspective because I think there's 5 new carriers. I'm wondering that takes the total number of cargo companies internationally coming here to the airport from what to what. If you could tell me that. And then also, I think you mentioned a $9 million increase in revenue because of the new cargo companies that are coming here. Can you explain, put that into perspective for me, that pushes the total revenue from cargo operations from what to what, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. Yep. I can touch on that. On the revenue piece, so increasing annual revenue by about $9 million coming from these 5 new cargo carriers operating here at ANC. And like I mentioned before, that's a combination of landing fees, fuel flowage fees, parking fees, and overall the 7% increase in our overall annual revenue. I'm sorry, and I missed the question about the specific of the revenue.
So it's a 7% increase, okay.
Yeah.
And then the other one is cargo carriers in total.
Yeah, you bet. So including these new 5, we have 31 international cargo carriers and we have 8 regional cargo carriers for a total of 39. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I have some other questions too, but I'll wait during.
Okay.
All right. Lauren, would you like to go next?
Yes.
You're talking a little bit about the need to expand the airport into lands that have not currently been developed. Can you tell us a little bit more about the specifics of where those areas might be, and also talk a little bit about the timeline that you're thinking of?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. There's several areas. I mean, if we're to look outside of this facility and across the main runway, there's several areas over there that haven't been developed yet because really what we're getting into is land that isn't as easily developable. There's terrain, there's increased costs, in order to, do the cuts and the fills needed to develop those lands. We also have lands on the south side that have some PFAS contamination, and those aren't as easily developable as well because of the increased cost to clean that up. So we're actively looking at those areas, and we want to clean those areas up. We're going to, and we have companies right now, such as Atlas, that are looking at these areas and making proposals to develop them. So from the state standpoint, this ability to expand our parallel taxiways to support that development, so we can have unimpeded access for these large aircraft to the runways is really important. Our timelines right now, we do have active projects that we intend to be in construction over the next 3 years to start the taxiway build-outs, as well as an additional, right now I believe we're talking about 4 additional parking spots that the state would be using our federal funds to construct.
Yeah, thank you. I had a question about the biorefinery. Do you have a specific plant in mind, a refinery that you're working with?
Yeah, thank you. There's not a high number of refineries currently that are operating domestically. We've visited with Marathon down on the Kenai Peninsula recently, and they have several facilities in the lower 48 where they're working with Neste, but the specific types of technologies that we would use for the chemical processes that are required are what this first part of our study will be about. So as we look at the available resources and see what will be most efficient here and possible, we'll have more answers on that.
Just to follow up, do you have a company on your study team, or who's on your study team?
We'll have a request for proposals out soon for consultants to support us both on the biomass evaluation and then the mechanical refinery components of that. We've been partnering with our state agencies till now, looking at what existing work has been done so we're not duplicating it.
Which state agencies?
Department of Natural Resources, yeah. And Alaska Energy Authority.
Work our way back here. Do you want to go?
Hi, Commissioner, you mentioned PFAS a few times, and I just wonder what's the progress on switching out, and what's your progress on cleaning up and switching out?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is an important piece for us. This is such a, it's been going on for a long time. So we have monies right now in our budget to do the conversions, and so we're in the process right now of, there's a lot of other airports across the state that are having to do the same thing. And so we're in the process of procuring the fluorine-free foams so that, we can replace the foams that are in our equipment. And then there's a process to cleaning the equipment to make sure that it's, ready to use in the appropriate ways. So we expect that this winter, we will have this equipment cleaned, and we'll be fully functional with the new foams. But again, we're going through that transition period, and this is something new. But it's a high priority for us, for sure.
ABC. So, Commissioner, this might sound like a very immature question, but you mentioned my biggest pet peeve, and that's waiting for my Amazon package. So, how does the addition of 5 new cargoes help in that process, making it speedier for people to get their packages, especially for prime people who technically, if they were in the lower 48, they get it the next day?
Yeah, great question, and yeah, I'm always waiting for my Amazon packages too, for sure. One thing that's really great happening right now, and we do Amazon, they have different ways that they're moving packages more directly to locations, and so having Anchorage as a hub, whether it's Fairbanks or wherever it is in the state, that speeds things up just because, having our capacity, the infrastructure to support that is really important. But in Anchorage, at this airport right now, we're actually doing a pilot program, or Amazon is doing a pilot program, where they're moving Amazon packages to Anchorage, and they're resorting them and sending them down to the lower 48. So the planes can come from Asia, the locations to Anchorage, and then they empty and they go back, while other planes from the lower 48 come to pick them up and then take them from there. So our understanding is it's a pilot program to see if that can speed things up in terms of how fast we can get packages. But we're really excited about that. Those are the kind of things that I think for Anchorage and our being in this geographic place in the world, there's a lot of opportunities for us. So really looking for those.
I'll go to Wesley Curley with KSKA and Hope Radio. Jeff Lundy. The last one.
Not totally unrelated, but is there any update on the revival of the kindergarten crossing that would obviously impact cargo going north from the airport?
Yeah, was that question, Jeff, the crossing, the crossing itself from here? Yeah, so the state's been going through a process of due diligence and really to try to understand, I think, for folks that are familiar with the history, the Knik Arm Bridge. The Knik Arm Bridge is something that was going on quite some numbers of years ago, and looking at that connection between Anchorage and then going north. I think for folks that are familiar with this area, right now there's only one way. The Glen Highway is your only direct connection north, and then of course the Seward Highway to the south. And so right now we're looking at the feasibility of things. We want to make sure that we run down all the options and understand what's possible. And I think some people. We've talked about, differences in bridges and how the costs and things have changed over the years, but also there's discussions, tunneling technologies have changed quite a bit as well. And so, we're looking at kind of the technical feasibility of these things before, we would come out with any proposals or any thoughts on that. So it's really a lot of background work going on right now.
All right, have I missed any members of the media that have not had a chance to ask the first question? All right, we'll go back to Alex then, follow up. Anchorage Daily News.
Thanks, Anchorage Daily News. Maybe I could ask this for Tyler, but I'm wondering about trends in the cargo industry, and the airport had slid from 3rd to 4th last year in terms of total tonnage, I believe, coming through here. And I'm wondering why that occurred, and then I'm also wondering if the addition of these new carriers might bump us back up into 3rd place, or how that might affect overall tonnage.
Sure. I can speak more specifically to Atlas, that our volume in Anchorage has done nothing but increase year over year. So rough numbers, we've added close to 3,000 flights over the last 3 years, and we're looking at a 2,000 flight increase next year. That's all Asia Pacific trade lane growth. We've also interconnected our South American network through Europe, back through Asia, and through Alaska. And so that has increased our number of flights, not necessarily always our landed tonnage at Anchorage, but it certainly has increased our number of flights through Alaska. I think broadly, IATA publishes numbers monthly, but you'll see that the Asia Pacific trade lanes have grown significantly faster than any other portion of the country. I think e-commerce drives most of that change, and that certainly has been our biggest growth factor, has been e-commerce. So I'm not sure if that directly answers your question, but hopefully it helps.
If anyone else has the bigger picture and answer that, I appreciate it.
Well, as the commissioner said, we're ranked 4th. It's Hong Kong, Memphis, Shanghai, and then Anchorage International. And so we are very close to the 3rd place, catching up to Shanghai, just short of about 60,000 cargo metric tons, so very close. With the development that Commissioner mentioned that the airport is undertaking, as well as all the private industry and development as well, that we're thankful to see, we're just bolstering ourselves and positioning ourselves to just even, I think, to maximize on the opportunity to continue to grow. As we continue to grow, of course, the cargo industry globally will grow as well. So we may end up staying at 4th for a while, but potentially, like what you had alluded to, with these new cargo carriers, bumping up those numbers, we are hoping to get back to number 3 here very soon. Thank you.
All right, we're next on the channel 2. Would you like to follow up? You're good? Okay. Tim, Brenner?
I just wondered, back on the number of flights, the cargo flights, could you put it in context with passenger flights? We have so many cargo flights a year. How many passenger flights? How does that relate?
I could get that number for you off of this after this conference. When we talk about cargo, we talk about landed weight, gross maximum takeoff weight. Actually, is what we utilize. That number multiplied the number of landings, and that's how we comprise our cargo revenue stream dollars. For passenger aircraft, we take a look at how many enplanements. So that's how many folks are coming off the plane, onto the plane, departing Anchorage. And so we take that number and multiply it by 2, and that gives you a quick, easy number to tell us how many passengers we're serving a year. So we're about just over 5 million passengers a year.
Eric, do you have any additional for Alaska Beacon?
I guess for Commissioner Anderson again, you talked about expanding the airport. How do you avoid conflicts with the Coastal Trail and Kincaid Park? And what's the situation there?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're very much aware of, Coastal Trail. I've used it for sure, and Kincaid. Those are phenomenal facilities. The development areas right now are well away from those areas, so we don't foresee any major impacts. But we have a master planning effort going on right now that I would encourage people to be involved with, that looks at that longer term 20-year horizon for the airport. And so, if you have concerns there, that's a great place to engage and really hear about what's going on at the airport right now, what the future plans are.
ABC Fox, do you have a follow-up?
I'm not sure if we hit on it or I missed it or not, but how could these 5 new cargoes coming in adjust shipping costs here in the state of Alaska, if they can or cannot?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, a lot of the cargo that comes through Anchorage, it transitions through. I mean, Anchorage International serves as a big fuel stop for a lot of carriers. So that's a lot of what's happening in terms of the economy here. The individual cargo shipments and whatnot, having that infrastructure in the background to support all of this makes it a lot more efficient for all of us, and it really does support that aspect of it, as well as all the Alaskan jobs. I think is it 1 in 7 jobs in the Anchorage area really are tied to the Anchorage International Airport. So that's a big focus for us.
Do you have any follow-up? All right. We can keep going if you'd like. I know Alex had a couple more questions, or I thought he did.
Well, I could just talk to Terry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do we have any other questions from other attendees that would like asked?
Thank you. Sorry, my name is Mike Carter. I'm with Western Global. I'd like to ask on the energy side. It sounds like we're going to be relying on natural gas. Now, where will that be coming from? Are we anticipating it's going to be, LNG, or are we going to get some North Slope gas?
I am going to defer this one to Commissioner Anderson.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we recognize at the airport with our energy consumption is we want to diversify. And so that's why you're seeing, like right now, we have a request for information on the street for the solar arrays. So we could start, using the solar for power. There's other ideas out there on how we can use more alternative energy sources for the airport, particularly for heating and those types of things, so that the airport can keep functioning and have things like redundant battery systems for if there are times of crisis or whatnot, to make sure this facility is as strong as possible. So when it comes to the natural gas piece, we continue to look for other sources of energy to make sure that we're doing our part here.
Great, thank you. Thank you everyone for attending. If you have questions for any of our speakers, you can just get with me afterward and I'll try to get connected. I really appreciate your time.
All right, thanks. Okay, thanks guys.
No problem. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you.